मेरी जो इनिशियल चाइल्डहुड थी कश्मीर से लेके फिर नागालैंड, ही सेड डोंट लेट एनीबडी टेल यू व्हाट यू कैन एंड कैन नॉट डू इन योर लाइफ। जब मैं बड़ी हो रही थी तो डिफेंस फोर्सेस में लेडीज थे नहीं, देयर वाज नो एंट्री फॉर अस। फिर मुझे समझ आया कि फिजिक्स मेरे बस की बात नहीं है। सो द ओनली फिजिक्स आई प्रैक्टिस इज इन ड्राइविंग। मुझे एक्चुअली आर्मी ज्वाइन करना था बट आर्मी डिडंट गिव मी अ कॉल लेटर, देयर लॉस। मैं मानती हूँ कि उनका लॉस है। शी इज लाइक इससे शादी कौन करेगा? पीपल वुड से कि अगर कुछ काम करवाना है तो सूरी से करवाओ। लोग क्या कहेंगे? नो, आई डोंट केयर अबाउट दैट। अभी क्या है, लोग फौज को एज अ करियर देखते हैं, हमने कभी देखा नहीं उसमें। मोस्ट पीपल फील दैट अ सोल्जर वो मरने के लिए ज्वाइन करता है। नो, दैट इज द मिसकंसेप्शन, मेजर मिसकंसेप्शन ये है। वी प्रोटेक्ट एंड वी सर्व, दैट इज व्हाई वी ज्वाइन। तो हमने क्या किया, हमने ब्राइट कलर्स जितने हमें चाहिए थे हमने उठा लिए, और हमने अपने बच्चों के लिए क्या छोड़े, ब्लैक, ग्रे, डार्क ब्राउन, सैड बेज, और हम चाहते हैं कि उससे वो अपने जीवन को रंगीन करें। बट आर यू क्रिएटिंग अ सेफ प्लेस बाय टीचिंग योर बॉयज हाउ टू ग्रो अप? मोस्ट पेरेंट्स आर वेटिंग टू वॉश देयर हैंड्स ऑफ। पति का हो गया बस, अब तुम संभालो, हमारा झमेला नहीं है। Why would you look at a girl as a झमेला?
Hello there, Inshallah. I'm Nilesh, and welcome to my podcast. We are starting a podcast series called 12 months, 12 episodes. और आज के हमारी गेस्ट बहुत ही खास हैं, जिनकी लाइफ जर्नी जेन्युइनली मुझे बहुत इंस्पायर करती है। एट द एज ऑफ 22, जब सब लोग मोस्टली कंफर्ट और सेफ्टी चूज करते हैं, उन्होंने एक डिसीजन लिया और नेवी चूज करी। And she is one of the few women officers to serve on a naval warship. Welcome, Sandhya ma'am.
Thank you, Nilesh. Thank you so much, and congratulations on your first podcast.
Thank you.
And age of 22 बहुत दूर लगता है अब तो। It's been a long, long time.
Starting from your childhood.
Childhood, okay. I grew up in a lot of different places. So बहुत अलग अलग जगह पे मैं पली बड़ी हुई हूँ। मेरी जो इनिशियल चाइल्डहुड थी कश्मीर से लेके फिर नागालैंड से लेके कालिम्पोंग, सो आई वाज इन अ बोर्डिंग स्कूल। वहाँ से राइट फ्रॉम अ कॉन्वेंट इनटू अ गवर्नमेंट कॉलेज। सो एक्सपीरियंसेस बहुत वेरिड से थे, एंड आई हैव ऑलवेज बीन समबडी हु डजंट माइंड डूइंग समथिंग न्यू, एंड मेरे लिए वो एक्साइटिंग भी होता है एक तरीके से। एंड आई थिंक अ लॉट ऑफ दैट हैज टू डू विद माय फादर, क्योंकि जब हम बड़े हो रहे थे माय डैड डिडंट डिस्क्रिमिनेट बिटवीन माय ब्रदर एंड मी। ही डिडंट से कि लड़की है तो ये नहीं कर सकती, ऐसा नहीं था। सो हिज लाइन दैट आई स्टक विथ फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम वाज दैट ही सेड डोंट लेट एनीबडी टेल यू व्हाट यू कैन एंड कैन नॉट डू इन योर लाइफ। सो yeah, pretty much that's how I've done it. I don't know whether he's happy about it right now or not, but I mean it chalked my path.
मैम, आपने कभी बचपन में सोचा कि आपको नेवी ज्वाइन करनी है या मतलब डिफेंस फोर्सेस में जाना है?
जब मैं बड़ी हो रही थी तो डिफेंस फोर्सेस में लेडीज थे नहीं, there was no entry for us, which happened in 1992 हमारे बैच से, हमारे कॉलेज से मेरी एक सीनियर थी मीनाक्षी राजदान मैम। शी वाज द फर्स्ट वन फ्रॉम द कॉलेज एंड आई बिकेम द सेकंड वन फ्रॉम द कॉलेज। सो उस वक्त चाइल्डहुड में नहीं था, चाइल्डहुड में तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें करना चाहती थी। आई वांटेड टू become a pilot. This was I think 6th grade. By the time I got to 7th grade, वो साइंस के जो सब्जेक्ट्स थे वो चेंज हो गए, इन द सेंस वो डिवाइड हो गए, फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री एंड बायोलॉजी। फिर मुझे समझ आया कि फिजिक्स मेरे बस की बात नहीं है। सो द ओनली फिजिक्स आई प्रैक्टिस लिटरली इज इन ड्राइविंग। एंड उसके बाद ऑफ कोर्स पायलट के ख्वाब निकल गए। देन आई वांटेड टू डू जर्नलिज्म, आई वांटेड टू डू अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स, लेकिन बाय द टाइम आई गॉट टू कॉलेज एंड तैयारी चल रही थी मेरी आईपीएस की, which was probably a lot to do with meeting and watching Kiran Bedi ma'am do so much at that point of time. She was just absolutely stunning, and that was very inspiring for me. And then Prime Minister Srimati Indira Gandhi. So we had a lot of inspiring women during my time who I kind of looked and imbibed. Nobody's perfect. दोनों में perfection नहीं है, but दोनों में courage बहुत है. And whether the courage stays or not, that's entirely up to you. But I think I was inspired by them quite a bit, and then with encouragement from my dad. So I was preparing for IPS, and जब women entry scheme start हो गई for the फौज, army, navy, air force, that's how I ended up applying. मुझे एक्चुअली आर्मी ज्वाइन करना था, बट आर्मी डिडंट गिव मी अ कॉल लेटर, देयर लॉस. मैं मानती हूँ कि उनका लॉस है. एंड दैट नेवी हैपेंड, सो आई सेड वेल, आईपीएस करो, नेवी यूनिफॉर्म है, थोड़ी सी डिसिप्लिन है, सो एंड इट seemed like a good idea at that point.
How was the feeling when you got your joining letter?
The joining letter came in, I think 3 days before I was supposed to join. उतना ही टाइम था मेरे पास प्रेप करके रिपोर्ट करना. एंड दिस इज अगस्त, 14th August. आई रिमेम्बर आई वाज इन क्लेमेंट टाउन. एयरफोर्स का एसएसबी दे रही थी तब, एंड नेवी वाला कॉल आ गया. तो शाम को फोन किया मैंने घर, कैसा चल रहा है. मैंने कहा बहुत बढ़िया चल रहा है. दे सेड अब छोड़ के आ जा. मैंने कहा क्यों. So they said कि your call letter has come, you have to report on 18th August. And I was like, 3-4 दिन पहुंचेंगे कैसे, because this is Goa. The academy was in Goa at that point of time, and it would take literally 3 days to get there. So then my brother came, picked me up. उस वक्त लड़कियां अकेले जाती भी नहीं थी कहीं. We were not supposed to travel alone. There was a lot of restrictions at that point of time, and accepted restrictions कह लो. So anyway, my mom went with me, and मेरा ट्रंक एकदम तैयार था. So मैं एक ट्रेन से उतरी जम्मू प्लेटफॉर्म में, और दूसरी ट्रेन में घुस गई to go down to पुणे. पुणे ट्रेन से उतरे, then caught a bus to Panjim, Goa, and that's how I ended up there. And I remember at one point of time, 18th August, that's my commissioning date. 1994 की बात है. I'm not so sure, you weren't even born. So yeah, and at that point of time, there was nervousness, there was excitement, and there was a point when I said क्या कर रही है. I mean, अभी भागना तो अभी भाग ले, नहीं तो घुस गए. And I said never mind, देखी जाएगी. So a lot of my work that I was getting into was more of देखी जाएगी, whatever happens we'll see.
जब आप एकेडमी में पहुंचे और ट्रेनिंग का फर्स्ट डे था, वो एक्सपीरियंस कैसा था आपका?
ट्रेनिंग का फर्स्ट डे मेरे लिए इतना डिफिकल्ट नहीं था. I was at that point I was practicing basketball. I was playing basketball 6 hours a day उस वक्त, and so fitness was not an issue, stamina was not an issue, and the women in my batch, मेरे जो कोर्समेट्स हैं, there were 14 of us at the academy, और उनकी हालत ख़राब हो रही थी ओरिएंटेशन में, क्योंकि it's a lot of physical fitness, वो सब, you have to build up your stamina, you have to build up discipline, you have to learn about Navy regulations, वो सारी चीज़ें थी. तो activity wise I was not feeling the pinch. I'm lazy, yes, but I wasn't feeling the pinch. Subject wise जहाँ जहाँ physics हमारा तो दिक्कत हो रही थी, because you have to learn all the subjects, whether you sail a ship or not, but you still have to learn. So that was the interesting point. Lots to learn, and yeah, it was a very good experience.
जब आप ट्रेनिंग खत्म करके कमीशन हुए, उस दिन की फीलिंग कैसी?
तो हमारे ट्रेनिंग जब खत्म होती है, there are 2 functions that take place. एक होता है valedictory function, which happens the evening before the passing out parade, POP जिसे कहते हैं. passing out parade की practice तो करीब 1.5 महीने चली, and I was in the guard. I don't know how. क्योंकि मार्च पास्ट इज नॉट माई बड़ी दिक्कत होती है उसमें, इन द सेंस कि यू वेयरिंग वेरी हेवी ड्रिल बूट्स, उसमें कील लगे हुए हैं, आवाज़ आनी चाहिए, आवाज़ एकदम बुलंद होनी चाहिए. खैर आवाज़ बुलंद की प्रॉब्लम नहीं थी मुझे, बट इट वाज एन ऑनर एक्चुअली. वैलिडिटी फंक्शन खत्म हुआ शाम को. आई रिमेम्बर माई मम, शी स्टैंडिंग देयर विथ माई uncle, my dad, and my dad's sister, and they're like, Sandhya kahan hai? And I'm like, Mom, I'm standing here. Of course, my skin color was totally tan, dark, you couldn't recognize me. And she took one look at me, and typically like a mother who has a very young daughter, she's like, इससे शादी कौन करेगा? So I was like, Mother, I'm getting stripes tomorrow, and this is what you're fretting about. And it was interesting. And POP is a very personal intimate ceremony. So passing out parade में, of course, the parade happens first. उसके बाद once you pass out, with the parade, there's a carpet that you just pass through, and then you have the function where your stripes, उसको खोल के ना वो stripes unfold करते हैं और वो parents करते हैं. So that was a very personal experience, and मजे भी किए. Now you're finally like, ठीक है, अब कोई कुछ नहीं बोल सकता, even though you are the junior most officer present, but it made sense to do that. That was very, very special.
Where was your first posting after completing your training?
मेरी first posting थी विशाखापट्टनम, वाइजैक कहते हैं उसे normally short में, and that's in the Eastern Command. So मेरी first posting थी as a paying officer, and सबसे पहले मैंने सीखा नोट कैसे गिनते हैं, because we didn't have transfers, we didn't have net banking, ये सब नहीं था तब, and normal payout, salary वैलरी सब कैश में जाती थी. So you had to go collect cash, count money, shortage है, you have to account for it. So it was a very nice learning curve. I've been very fortunate to have good commanding officers or good OICs who I've reported to. So that way it was very fulfilling.
Then after जब आपकी posting हुई warship थे, तो आपको मतलब एक मेल डोमिनेटेड स्पेस में जाके मतलब कैसा फील हुआ?
But when you look at it, it was already a male dominated space. I'm from the third batch. Third batch means 1.5 years of women entering the services in the Navy. It was all new. People were not used to you. People are still, getting used to the fact that women are around, and you got to now, bring them into the fold. And हमारी तो प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, हमें तो we know what you're signing up, so you're getting into it. So ship पे थोड़ा सा restrictive इसलिए होता है क्योंकि ship by itself is a unit. It's like a home. It's a big, small town कह लो, by itself at sea. So you have, very limited women on board. So for about a month or so, we had 4 officers there. After that, one doctor and 1 logistics officer who were handing over to us. So the handing over took place and they left. So there were 2 of us among 12 officers, 2 were women, and we had, I think, around 254 people on board the ship. They were all men. So for me it was okay. I grew up in the Northeast. Northeast में ज़्यादा discrimination नहीं होता है in terms of you can't say कि you can't be friends with a guy or you can't be friends with boys, and so it's easier to talk to them. But eventually the bottom line यही होता है कि your sailors, your team has to respect you, your ship has to respect you for what you do. So if you don't know your job, then you're in trouble. So I think that was my best tenure on the ship because it's very challenging, it's very operational. और operational के हिसाब से जो भी सीखा था पहले ट्रेनिंग में, you have to make use of literally everything because you are doing everything that a logistics officer is supposed to do. And I had a lot of mandate from my logistics officer. I was the assistant logistics officer there. So he said, देख ऐसा है कि assistant logistics officer जहाँ होता है, logistics officer काम नहीं करता, assistant को करना होता है. मैंने कहा ठीक है सर, tell me जितना mandate मुझे आप दोगे उतना मैं कर लूँगी, उसके बाद बस यही है कि just guide me if I'm going wrong, and that's about it. He said काम आता है ना, हमने कहा मजाक कर रहे हो. So yeah, it took about 2 weeks for the logistics department to realize कि no, this one means business, so you've got to do things the way it has to be done properly, and it's a challenge, but it's fun, it's very, very engaging, it keeps you occupied the whole day, and it was a really nice experience.
कोई आपका ऐसा एक्सपीरियंस वॉरशिप पे जो आपको मतलब पूरी जिंदगी मेमोरी रहेगी आपकी?
Okay. One of it is classified, I won't talk about it, but I liked my tenure because I had grown from being just a junior officer to a space where people would say कि अगर कुछ काम करवाना है तो सूरी से करवाओ, हो जाएगा काम. So I have never said in the sense कि CEO ने बुला के बोला कि ये काम करना है, मेरा सिर्फ सवाल ये होता था कब तक चाहिए. Beyond that, I never ask questions. So that was the thing that really made me very independent about taking decisions, जो एक लेफ्टिनेंट के रैंक में नहीं मिलता है normally. You don't get it. There'll always be somebody who will overrule you, things like that. But once you start working and you have clarity about what you want to do and how you have to do it. Remember, there are rule books for everything. Every little thing you do has a guideline, has a rule, has a process. And that's the beauty of it also, because it allows you to not have too many doubts about how it is to be done, but to be able to do it on time, deliver it without getting a return ki ye kharab hai, wo kharab hai. That is the excellence that you want to achieve. So I think that part of the tenure was challenging. It was very fulfilling because I kind of grew as an officer. I grew beyond just being labeled as a woman officer, which was a big fight most of the time. But yeah.
As you mentioned that woman officer, I have read somewhere किसी ने आपको woman officer बोला and you replied I am an officer.
Yeah, okay. This happened all the time. Because they're not used to it. Remember, I'm from the third batch. They were not used to women around. And most of the times when meetings would start, they will say officers and ladies. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And I would look around literally just to make the point. Ki sir, ladies nahi hai yahan. So he'd be like, what do you mean? I'm like, sir, there are no women here. They're all officers here. So he's like, but you're a woman officer. I said, no, I'm an officer. I'm getting the same pay. The ranks are the same. I don't think we should be discriminated that way. So it's a transitioning phase. People will transform opinions. People will transform with interacting more with women officers, and it's always important to not put gender into the issue. Although there have been a lot of gender, uh, you know, conversations and debates over whether women should be given command, and I think we've all proven them wrong for a long time now, and I'm not going to get into that. But I feel that when you feel that women are not being, or women are being treated specially, just change the rules, make it clear for them. We didn't make the rules. If there were allowances made for women, it was not me sitting on the table and saying, no, I want that allowance. It was already there. सो वो जो स्पेशल ट्रीटमेंट टाइप के जो क्वेश्चंस आते हैं उसमें होता है कि यू नीड टू probably assess कि where do I stand with this. Am I only going to be a woman officer, or am I just going to be an officer and do exactly what I'm supposed to do? So that is always the difference, and it's not just in the forge. Anywhere you go, wherever women have tried to get an entry into spaces which is mostly largely been men oriented, they don't know how to deal with it. While you're empowering women everywhere, and women have gotten empowered, I mean, there's a long way to go, but it's progress. Lekin nobody's guiding the men, or helping them understand how to manage empower women, or how to be with empowered women. Not even manage, we don't want to be managed. We know how to manage ourselves. It's just that empowerment के साथ किसी इंसान को as an equal, how do you treat that person as an equal? Which means you don't use words like permission, allow, don't wear, don't laugh loudly, all of these things. They're very feminist phrases. And as much as people like to label me as a feminist, which I am, but I am more than just a feminist. Like, I would say, I'm more of a humanist, where I'm looking at equality of genders, not by being equal. It's more about equity. So you get to that level by consistently adjusting and adapting, so that people have the same opportunities. So that is what it's about. And us waqt to, I think, everywhere, wherever I went, this was the thing. I had to keep insisting because someone had to do it, and then it slowly catches on.
मैम आपने इंटरनेशनल फ्लीट रिव्यू को भी हैंडल किया जब आपकी डॉटर 7 months की.
That's true.
तो आपने गिल्ट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी को कैसे हैंडल किया?
Guilt is not something I carry with me in terms of motherhood. When I was carrying my daughter, and I was pregnant, I was very clear in my head that this person growing inside me is an individual, right? So when you treat your kids like individuals, they will need guidance, they will need parenting, but to be very aware of the fact that you are going to do the best under any circumstances. So whatever you can do and whatever you can fairly, contribute as a parent, as a mother, and I was a single parent at that point of time because my then husband was never really around, and we had separated by the time she was born. But at 7 months, I feel an infant is still better placed to manage without a mother than at 3 months, 4 months, right? I weaned her out at 4.5 months, and I know the kind of stuff I've done. 1 hour's break for lunch, जिसमें मैं 20 मिनट लगाती थी ऑफिस से, डॉकयार्ड से, डॉकयार्ड के पास था मेरा जो बेस था, and वहाँ से जाना to the house in 20 minutes, drive in 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, I'm feeding the baby. My house help is feeding me. ये सब coordinated होता था. It's like precision. 20 minutes. Exactly 20 minutes and I'm, headed back because it takes me 20 minutes to get back to my desk. And my CEO was very strict about time. Punctuality, बहुत ज़्यादा. So when I was carrying, he was really, flexible. He said, this is a period to enjoy, but after that you have to learn to balance. So I didn't really carry guilt per se. Yes, I've spent a lot less time with my daughter when she was growing up, but I feel you have to take a call on how the ratios work out. So I had a very supportive house help, and with the fleet review there was a lot of intensive work. I remember उससे एक रात पहले ही स्टार्ट हो गया था क्योंकि it was we were in charge of security and catering. So these are two very critical ones. You have the VVIP seats, you got the who's and who's of the government and everybody coming in, international people are coming in. So you have to be very clear about what you're doing. So pura Marine Drive was kind of, barricades put up हो रहे थे. So you have to check, keep checking. So I remember we started at 8 in the night, and I went home for an hour that night just to ensure that she was fine, and came back. And from 8 at night, apart from that 1 hour when I went, changed, came back uh, for a break, I walked the entire Marine Drive up to 1 p.m. in the afternoon. The entire fleet review time, I was on my feet. And that's the kind of, stamina I had then. अभी मुझे कोई बोले कि 1 बजे दोपहर तक आप चलते रहो रात पिछले शाम से, I will think about it. At that point, I think nothing felt really impossible. And guilt, पता है क्या? Guilt लोग feed करते हैं आपको. How can you leave your child at home? How can the child be without a mother at this age? It's okay. It's the kind of time you spend with your child, and it's how you also nurture your child to understand that some things cannot be avoided. So वो चीज़ें थोड़ी सी balance ले आती है, but I have never allowed anyone to guilt trip me into saying I, you know, I've been short charged, yes, but to say that I'm not, putting in my best as a mother, I just make choices based on what is required, and that's important anywhere. What's available and what do you do with it in the now. That is more important. पिछला देखो, अगला देखो. You don't exist in that. You exist in your present moment. This is your eternity. What you say, na? What is eternal? Your now is eternal because you are existing in this very moment. So that's what's important. It's not how people view it later or earlier or predict it. It doesn't matter.
आपके लिए नेवी छोड़ना ज्यादा मुश्किल था या इसको ज्वाइन करना?
ज्वाइन करना आसान था. छोड़ना भी आसान ही था. You see, I have moved a lot in my life. Lots of places, lots of homes, moved over and over again. So मेरे लिए packing up and moving is not a difficult task. मुझे आज बोलो आधे घंटे में पैक करना है, आधे घंटे में नहीं होएगा, depending on the सामान you have. But you tell me कि यार अगले 24 घंटे 48 घंटे में आपको यहाँ से दूसरे नए शहर मूव करना है, I will do it and I will pack. perks of being a logistician is that you will understand कि आपका जो process है, then you time it. जब तक मेरे लिए pressure नहीं है, I will not time things. For me, it is okay. Do it at your pace. Of course, I've become like that now. Earlier, the energy was very different. Now my energy is different in terms of how much time I take, which is okay. I mean, baal safed ho gaye, so it doesn't matter. Also, I don't care too much about uh, three words that destroys most people's lives. And वो तीन words कौन से हैं? सोचो. लोग क्या कहेंगे? No, I don't care about that. If I feel that I have to do something, I will go ahead and do it anyway. लोग क्या कहेंगे should matter when you really care deeply about people and they care as much about you. Otherwise, no. It's a very short life. एक ही लाइफ है तो उसको जीने के लिए you have to stop thinking लोग क्या कहेंगे.
मैम जब आपने नेवी लाइफ को छोड़ के कॉर्पोरेट लाइफ में आए तो वो शिफ्ट कैसा था मतलब?
I did not really apply for a job in India. I applied to 2-3 places where they said you are overqualified or we can't afford the kind of salary you are looking at. So ये सारी चीजें थी. I wanted to get back to writing actually at that point when I left the Navy. I said कुछ अलग करूँ मैं. But writing doesn't pay you, right? It doesn't pay you the way you should be paid, and teaching doesn't pay you the way you should be paid. I started my career with teaching. Navy was the second thing that I did. So I got interviewed on MSN chat. I didn't even have a face-to-face interview, and I was hired by the Tolaram Group, which is a Singapore-based, group of companies. And I just flew out a month, less than a month after I left the Navy. I flew out to Nigeria. So corporate work started right away, and incidentally, I flew out 12th of September 2001, and which was 11th September in the US when we had the Twin Tower thing happening and all of that. That went mid-flight. So it was quite an adventure again, but I take it the way it comes.
आप स्टेट लेवल बास्केटबॉल प्लेयर भी रही हैं तो उसके बारे में भी थोड़ा.
उसके पीछे एक्चुअली एक कहानी है. स्कूल में मेरे जो पीटी टीचर थे मिस्टर अग्निश्वरन, I still remember him, and I used to love basketball. Basketball was like a primary game for us in the convent कि वो prestigious होता था. जैसे इंडिया में क्रिकेट है. No matter what game you play, if it's cricket, then everybody is interested. So हमारे स्कूल में if it's basketball, everybody was interested. So 6th standard में थी मैं, and you do this yoga का thing where you touch your head to your knee without bending your knee. वो मुझसे हुआ नहीं. वो बाद में लॉजिक समझ आती है कि क्यों नहीं हुआ. बट उस वक्त क्या जबरदस्ती सबसे करवाते हैं. इट डजंट मैटर हु यू आर, वेदर यू आर शॉर्ट, टॉल, व्हाटएवर. आई वाज अ टॉल किड, बट योर बॉडी रेशियो, if it's not equal, it's very difficult. It's far more difficult for people with longer legs. So what छोटी सी टेक्निकल सी चीज है, but I couldn't do it, so he threw me out of the team. And he said, if you can't do this much, you will never play basketball all your life. That was a statement he made. And that can either make you go down depressed or make you resolve you will do this one day. I didn't know how, but in my head I was like, dekhi jayegi again. So by the time I got to 12th standard, I had moved from Nagaland to Jammu. So 12th standard में जुलाई का महीना था 1989 की बात है. And in the month of July, they were looking for adding members to the team for their school basketball team. So height to thi, so I said okay, I'm joining in, and I picked it up really fast because I had already played a little bit before, although I had not played for a long gap. I mean, we're talking about 1983 to 1989, so it's like quite a few years gap. 6 साल का फर्क था उसमें. So I played the inter-school first. September I played inter-district, and December I played inter-school nationals. So I kind of moved really fast in that space. And after that, I've played inter-university. I've had the captainship for the university. I've had the captainship of the senior national team from J&K. Taken scholarship for 3 years. sports scholarship. So it's been it was my love at that point. You know, I loved basketball. मुझे कुछ भी करवा लो, मतलब बास्केटबॉल नहीं छुड़वाओ. इट वाज लिटरली लाइक दैट. डिफिकल्टी होती थी, मम नहीं मानती थी. मम्मी को होता था मार्क्स खत्म हो जाएंगे, नंबर नहीं आ रहे तुम्हारे. तो उनसे पूछ लिया था क्या चाहिए आपको, कहती फर्स्ट डिवीजन चाहिए. मैंने कहा मिल जाएगा. सो उतना ही था वो. उसके अलावा तो बहुत मक्खन मानना पड़ता था मम्मी को, बिकॉज आउटडोर ट्रैवल, आउट स्टेशन ट्रैवल बहुत मुश्किल होता है. उधमपुर तक जाने में दिक्कत होती थी, मम्मी अलाउ नहीं करती थी. एंड माई डैड वॉज वेरी लिबरल, सो थैंकफुली. पहले पापा को पटाना, मेरे कोच सर आएंगे पटाएंगे. उसके बाद ओमी सर जाते थे मम्मी के पास, फिर समझाते थे नहीं नहीं पेपर आ जाएंगे, हो जाएगा ठीक, एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. सो इट यूज्ड टू बी अ चैलेंज. But basketball gave me a lot of things I didn't have in college in terms of uh, it gave me something to do. It was just, you know, when you're in the court, you're in the court. Nothing else exists. So that kind of a feeling that you get, and I think it teaches you a lot of focus, and it was a lot of fun because बहुत अलग-अलग you know जगह से लोग आते हैं. You make friends. You also part ways afterwards. And I remember Meenakshi ma'am की sister जो थी Amrita Razdan, she used to play basketball with us. So I actually did not meet Meenakshi ma'am because Meenakshi ma'am passed out the year I came in, and Amrita I met in 1990. School nationals में actually 89 में school nationals में मिलके, and then of course they've all gone their separate ways. I'm not in touch with anyone now.
ऐसी कौन सी चीज़ है वॉर के बारे में जो मतलब लोग ऐसे जानते ही नहीं हैं, लाइक जो मतलब डिफेंस पर्सनल है वही फील कर सकते हैं?
I think it's about आपके लिए आपका जो नेशनल फ्लैग है और आपका कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, ये दो चीज़ें कितने मायने रखता है. बिकॉज योर कंट्री विल ऑलवेज कम फर्स्ट. सो इट्स अ वेरी पेट्रियाटिक स्ट्रीम ऑफ थॉट. बट पेट्रियाटिज्म और नेशनलिज्म में बहुत फर्क है. आई विल नॉट गेट इनटू नेशनलिज्म, बहुत कंट्रोवर्शियल है. बट पेट्रियाटिज्म, यस, फॉर अस व्हेन वी वर सर्विंग, इट वाज एन ऑनर. आई थिंक इट्स अ प्रिविलेज, इट्स अ मेजर प्रिविलेज. अभी क्या है, लोग फौज को एज अ करियर देखते हैं. हमने कभी देखा नहीं उस वक्त. We didn't look at it that way. We looked at it as an opportunity to be able to serve the nation directly. So वो है. उसके अलावा I think secular acceptance of everybody as the same is very very different in the फौज. फौज में वो चीज़ें imbibe हो जाती हैं हमारे पास, because you have to rely, your life relies on your team. आपकी पलटन जो होती है, जो फौज में कहते हैं स्पेशली आर्मी में, आपकी पलटन पे डिपेंड करती है. और पलटन का रिस्पेक्ट तभी आएगा जब आप हर एक को रिस्पेक्ट करोगे. एंड अनफॉर्चुनेटली दोज फीलिंग्स हैव फेडेड आउट क्वाइट अ बिट नाउ, बट आई स्टिल फील कि बहुत सारे ऐसे हैं फौजी, भले वो यू नो नेवी है, एयरफोर्स है या आर्मी है, वेयर what they experience and go through, the civilian cannot. Why is that? Because I'll just give you an example. When I wrote my book Abhikrama, along with Colonel Kale, we have a chapter in that about Siachen. Okay, I know not every place in India is Siachen, but it tells you the extremes people go to protect the border. And most people feel that a soldier वो मरने के लिए ज्वाइन करता है. No, that is the misconception. Major misconception ये है. We protect and we serve. That is why we join it, right? Protecting and serving is the ultimate goal, especially the borders. Of course, pseudo, you know, pseudo wars within the country or whatever where army gets used, but no, it that is something that's very very hard to digest because you cannot imagine how it happens. If you are in sub-zero temperatures, I'm not saying sub-zero, sub 50 degrees, minus 50 degrees. Minus 50 degrees mein, it's a very simple thing. Even your daily routine is hard. You can go out to ease yourself and you will freeze. Everything will freeze. So, I mean, we've described it quite a bit in the book and I don't want to dive into it too much, but what extremes people live through is it's very very tough. And a fine example of people who want to even experience a little bit of that feeling need to consider the Kargil War Memorial at Dras as a pilgrimage site. For me, it's a pilgrimage. And I remember जब मैं पहली बार गई थी और दूसरी बार, I visited the memorial twice. First time was in 2018, and second time I went was last to last year, 2024. पहली बार जब मैं गई थी, the museum was very small. बहुत छोटा सा म्यूजियम था, उनमें चिट्ठियां लिखी हुई हैं जो उन्होंने अपने वो लास्ट लेटर लिख के रखते हैं अपने पास, दे के जाते हैं कि अगर मैं नहीं लौटा तो ये मेरे घर वालों के पास जाएंगे. And you read those letters, you read the names that are written down of the people who have survived, or people, rather the people who have, given up their lives for them. And you go through the list of names, आपको हर तरह का इंसान उस लिस्ट में मिलेगा. You have somebody from Bengal, you have somebody from Assam, you have somebody from Nagaland, you have somebody from Maharashtra, you have somebody from Bihar, Haryana के कितने लोग हैं वहाँ. So you have people from almost all the states and union territories of India, and their names are listed out, and you can stand there and you can wonder कि यार इनको क्या पड़ी थी. That is the feeling. इनको क्या पड़ी थी कि इन्होंने अपनी जान दे दी. Now, when you start understanding the impact of this, it is not just the people whose names are written there. It is also the injured soldiers who went back home, who couldn't serve anymore. It's the families they have left behind. That family's sacrifice is also to be included in this entire list. और बड़ा आसान होता है, आजकल देखो आप लैपटॉप के पीछे से लोग बैठ के कमेंट पे कमेंट डाल रहे हैं. आई एम सॉरी, यू हैव जीरो एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ व्हाट इट इज लाइक. इवन एज अ सिविलियन, इफ यू गो, अभी आप द्रास चले जाओ, -24 पे है अभी. द्रास इज द सेकेंड कोल्डेस्ट लिवेबल स्पेस ऑन द प्लैनेट, एंड इट इज सुपर कोल्ड. मतलब उतने एक्सट्रीम टेम्परेचर्स. वहां से यू टेक से फॉर एग्जांपल द थार डेजर्ट, राइट, जैसलमेर, ऊपर से पोखरान वाली साइड हो गया. दीज आर ऑल स्पेसेस पीपल डोंट. राजस्थानी फिर भी रह जाएंगे बिकॉज उनकी आदत है उस टेरेन में रहने की, बट इट इज नॉट ईजी. और ये चीज इनको समझ नहीं आती है. इट्स वेरी इजी टू से कि ये ऐसा है, वो वैसा है, उसने ये किया. डोंट जज पीपल बिकॉज one, the officer or the Sainik will not say anything about it because we are bound by a code of not speaking to the media, not clarifying ourselves, and placing trust on the constitution and the forge to take care of us, right? So we don't start trampling over people, although you can see a trend that's happening now. But I am sorry, I don't say कि सब दूध के धुले हुए हैं, but बॉस वैसा दूध नहीं मिलेगा. it's just a space which when you meet another Fauji you understand that relationship is very very critical. It's very important. मैं अभी मेरे कोस्टमेट के पास जाती हूँ, अगर मुझे जाना भी है, वो कहीं और भी होगी, and I will just call up and I'll say अच्छा कहाँ है, सिक्किम में हूँ. मैं कहा गाड़ी ले जा. There is no question कि क्यों चाहिए, nothing, no questions asked. कहाँ मिलेगा आपको यार? You can't. People अपने आप को नहीं ट्रांसफर, मतलब अपने दोस्तों को नहीं ट्रस्ट करते हैं, अपने दोस्तों रिश्तेदारों को नहीं करते हैं ट्रस्ट, एंड you place your trust into an entire armed forces community to take care of your protection. फ्लड होता है तो आपको आर्मी वाले दिखते हैं और अगले दिन वहीं उनकी भी पिटाई हो रही होती है. Why would you do that? And that is not okay. And a lot of these things are politically injected into that mindset, and that's not okay. I mean, being an Indian is the hardest thing now. It is the smallest minority in India is being an Indian. It's no other caste, nothing, no state, nothing. It's being an Indian. That is the smallest minority in India now.
For students, जियोपॉलिटिक्स की नॉलेज कितनी ज़रूरी है आज के टाइम पे? अगर किसी मैनेजमेंट स्टूडेंट को ही हम बोले तो जियोपॉलिटिक्स की नॉलेज कितनी ज़रूरी है?
Let me say an overall all-round awareness of things is required. You may tend to ignore a few things. At some point, you can't just be students जो होते हैं ना पढ़ाई करते हैं, textbooks, guide notes, but there is life beyond that. सच्चाई सिर्फ एक साइड की नहीं होती है, दूसरी साइड की भी होती है, and we have to understand कि when we're talking about geopolitics and you think it doesn't impact us, it does. Geoeconomics doesn't impact us, it does. So it's all connected. So read as much as you can, but try and read researched papers, journals, academically also, and research validated content. Research validated content at least has some basis, not the opinionated pieces that you read in papers. Most people don't read. Journalism's gone down the drain literally, but opinion pieces, read opinion pieces by people who have educated themselves in those arenas. That's important, right? um, I don't read too many academic journals, but if I have to find out something and authenticate it thoda sa or to validate it, I would rather read something that is academically or research based things. A lot of that now comes from my daughter because she loves research, and I ask her if she knows about it. And it's important for young people to do that, क्योंकि misinformation is very very rampant now. हम ऐसे ही जज कर लेते हैं, अच्छा इसने तो ऐसा किया, ये तो देशद्रोही है, किसने बोला? व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी. आई एम सॉरी, दैट इज नॉट अ लाइफ. Get a life beyond uh, trampling over people, having violent tendencies in terms of your own veiled threats that you give out to people. आज सुबह मैं पढ़ रही थी about I think Sonam Wangchuk, and so this was a support post ki, it's been over 100 days now that he's been there, and people just make it a political thing, and someone is comparing him to Yunus from Bangladesh. He also got Nobel Peace Prize, and look what he did. I'm like, that is not Yunus we are talking about. You are deflecting from the point. uh, Read about him, go visit Ladakh, go and see what he's done, and there are a lot of other things that build up a story, and eventually it's a story unless you have actual proof. It's all because when you're not allowed to fight your own case, there's no actual proof. Anyway, this is not about Sonam Wangchuk, but it's about being aware and being mindful. Where violence has become a very rampant thing now, I think kindness, compassion, mindful awareness is a rare commodity, and that is where the richness of life lies now. If you don't have emotional intelligence, for example, you will continue to do the things that you do and not take into account how it impacts people around you as well. It cannot become your entire life, but you have to be mindful of what you are doing. People can mock you, they can make fun of you, but who do we mock and who do we make fun of? People we are uncomfortable about, people who do things which we would have wanted to do, but we don't have the balls to do it. So students community needs to read, needs to make judgments, better judgments, but rather than transforming or expecting transformation from others, start from where you are and around you. That's the way you build communities. And violence is not the answer. You've seen where the world is at. Sometimes I just feel you just replace all the leaders with women leaders and let's see how the world evolves. But then that's me just being me.
जो यंग गर्ल्स लॉस्ट फील करती हैं या डाउट फील करती हैं कि वो नहीं कर सकती, तो आप उनको क्या मैसेज देंगे?
It's not just about young girls, it's about youngsters actually. I don't want to exclude any gender because I think we are all humans and we are from the same species, although most times they think women are different species altogether, which is kind of true in a way. But yeah,
I think in North India it's just like it's a patriarchy society.
it is a patriarchy society in a lot of spaces. It's a matriarchy society in a lot of spaces, and see how they are developing. When you see the Northeast, it's mostly matriarchal. You see Kerala, it's matriarchal. You have literacy rates which are higher, right? Also, patriarchy is all about control. Yeah, it's about dominance, it's about power play, it's about control, because You don't know what's going to happen when that person grows into something. And people who are feeling lost, uh, in terms of careers or in terms of personal development or EQ, IQ, I don't know what the question would point at, but uh, you have to take life the way it's coming, right? This is the world that's being created. Unfortunately, my generation is like a bridging gap, क्योंकि हमने बिना इंटरनेट का ज़माना भी देखा हुआ है and then internet भी देखा हुआ है. So we are just kind of the connectors. But the truth is that the youngsters now, be it women, men, you know, transgenders, any gender for that matter, you need to understand that the world existed before you arrived. It will exist after we exit. But the world that is being given to you by older people, you have to draw a line and say, hey, we're not accepting this. That acceptance shouldn't be, because unfortunately, my generation before that, and slightly ahead, we're destroying ourselves, we're killing ourselves, we are being very selfish. हम क्या कर रहे हैं कि अगर एक उसको जिंदगी में जो सहूलियत होती है हमारे पास, अगर हम उसको एक कलर पेंसिल बॉक्स की तरह देखें, तो हमने क्या किया, हमने ब्राइट कलर्स जितने हमें चाहिए थे हमने उठा लिए, और हमने अपने बच्चों के लिए क्या छोड़े, ब्लैक, ग्रे, डार्क ब्राउन, सैड बेज, और हम चाहते हैं कि उससे वो अपने जीवन को रंगीन करें. दैट्स नॉट फेयर. And I'm unfortunately we have made it possible, but the voices are very stifled, and any change requires young voices, and if you can do that, that'll be so much better. A large part of people feeling lost, a large part of people feeling restless, is because there's no employment. Employment is very, very difficult now. So no matter what you do, what you study, whatever you're doing, also keep in mind that your job is not only to go and work somewhere and make someone else rich, but India is a land of entrepreneurs. Business trade has been uh, here for centuries, and centuries and centuries, hundreds and thousands of years. Look into that. It's in your DNA. If you cannot find a job, you have to create it, right? How do you do that? That is where dependency, codependency on each other, allowing someone else to grow along with you, that matters. So that ecosystem has to be built, and it can't be built only on academic papers, like I said. और क्या हो रहा है वो देखो. But pause before you say something. Pause before you pass a judgment, and think very deeply about it before you do something. That will really help. And women feel lost, उनके चैलेंज अलग होती है. बचपन से बड़ा किया जाता है कि उसकी तैयारी शादी की होती है लड़कियों की. मोस्ट पेट्रियार्क सोसाइटीज, मेट्रियार्क सोसाइटीज में एजुकेशन इज प्राइमरी, इट्स प्राइम. I got caught between the two because my dad was more liberal at that point and my mom was deeply conservative. लड़कियां ये नहीं करती, लड़कियां पैंट नहीं पहनती, लड़कियां ये नहीं, मतलब there was a whole load of things. And I would sit and read a book and my mom's जब देखो किताब लेके बैठी होती, and that was a complaint. And for me it was like that was my fortune, right? So from that time to this time, I think parameters have not really moved much. It's just become sophisticated. Gaslighting अभी भी होती है. You will say रात को 6 बजे आ जाओ, शाम को अंधेरे में नहीं आना. But are you creating a safe place by teaching your boys how to grow up? You tell them you can't, you're not supposed to cry, you're supposed to focus on your career. But a career is not a guy's only life. There's beyond career, what else is there? और जब वो बड़ा हो जाता है फिर उसको एम्पैथी सिखा रहे हो, आई एम सॉरी, इट डजंट वर्क लाइक दैट. पेरेंटिंग हैज टू गेट बेटर. पेरेंटिंग हैज टू बी मोर माइंडफुल. एंड गर्ल्स की चैलेंजेस ये होती है कि मोस्ट पेरेंट्स आर वेटिंग टू वॉश देयर हैंड्स ऑफ. से पति का हो गया, बस अब तुम संभालो, हमारा झमेला नहीं है. व्हाई वुड यू लुक एट अ गर्ल एज अ झमेला? A girl brings a guy into the world. We're very self-sufficient, women are, and no woman should forget that. Whether you want to have a child or whether you don't want to have a child, that's your call. Whether you want to get married, you don't want to get married, that's your call. Make those decisions. It may seem scary, it may seem exciting, but both are relevant. Both are important to move on and move ahead. And go beyond the memes and things that you find funny and laugh at, but include the men in, because the transformation cannot be just one gender, it has to be both, or all three genders, or, it's getting confusing now too much. But yeah, with due apologies to everybody who feel offended about me stating women and men as gender. That's what I grew up with, but I do understand we have transgenders, and inclusion is important. Equity is important. Equity is very different from equality. Equality means same rule for everyone. Equity is adapting those rules so that people can grow up to that equal level. So same as with education, with careers, with jobs, with entrepreneurship, and support local entrepreneurship. I think that's important. हम लोग सब शहर भागते हैं, और शहर में सब कुछ महंगा भी होता है ज़्यादा, and you don't find that community thing. Although I mean small places have their own challenges, but I think it's a lot more ecologically, more viable to live in, and it keeps you down to earth. वो बहुत ज़रूरी होता है कि पाँव तो ज़मीन पे होने चाहिए थोड़े से, and then you can do whatever you want.
क्या मैनिफेस्टेशन में बिलीव करते हैं?
Yes, you need to manifest. I believe the universe has energies. It's made of energy. The funny part is you can actually see the energy, but because you don't know what it looks like, you see it and you don't see it. It's like that. Building up your own aura depends on a lot of positive thinking. आपकी thinking negative होगी, depressed होगा, वो aura दिख जाता है. It's literally like that. And a lot of manifestation comes from using affirmations which are more oriented towards what you want to achieve in life, right? So when you are asking for, say, patience, right? How do you manifest patience? Because when you're asking the universe for patience, it's going to give you challenging times so you can learn to be patient, right? If you're asking for wealth, it will give you opportunities, but you have to see it as opportunities from where you can generate wealth, right? A mentality depends a lot on how you wake up and what do you choose your day is going to be like. Like when I wake up, I am very clear in my head, I am going to make this a good day, right? So when you have that good day feel in your head when you wake up, that's the first thing you think about. There's a sense of gratitude that comes with it. The day may turn out really badly, but you will find that at some point you will find that little piece of that glimmer of hope, what you call it, right? एक रोशनी सी होती है अंधेरे में, आपको वो जुगनू भी रोशनी देती है. So it gives you hope. So that hope is important, and all of us are hopeful in life. I mean, if you're using an alarm, for example, you are hopeful because you know there are truths you can't run away from. You can't run away from death. It is going to come. You don't think you're immortal because you're not. Second is change. Change will happen every day, and acceptance of change is important, right? Change is messy. It gets really messy in the middle, but the results are absolutely fantastic and fabulous. So acceptance of change, adapting to change, agility, all of that can function much better if you manifest the right things. If you're manifesting energy, you're ready to receive gratitude, you're ready to receive, and appreciate what's coming your way, and you're grateful for what comes your way. Gratitude will teach you a lot about having a good attitude. It starts with gratitude. It kind of rhymes, but there's a reason why it rhymes. It can manifest. Manifestation is very, very powerful, and there are lots of ways to do it. For me, it is just thinking about things in a manner which is it has a personal request, but it's also beneficial to the world. That's important. Do you manifest?
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice.
Currently, you are working in change management also.
In a way, yes. I consult for a group of companies in Nigeria, and I have a business here, and I have a business in Nigeria. Nigeria one's still in its early stages. This is also an early stage. कहते हैं जिंदगी के साथ पंगे बहुत लेते हैं. So I'm one of those. Whatever's on the plate is interesting, but वो वो उस प्लेट में भी बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग सी चीज़ है जो मुझे वो एक चीज़ चाहिए इसमें. So there's a lot of that happens, and it's all about, I think, where your life takes you and what you want to do with your life. For me, when I look at my life, I'm happy where I am. I am not in the sense कि happiness तो झक मार के ना भागती रहेगी, तुम उसके पीछे भागते रहोगे, हाथ नहीं आने वाली. So I look at it more as a joyful space where you can find joy in little things. I think people should pause a little more, look at the flowers, and look at it noticeably. Mindful awareness comes with that exercise. But building a community, a support ecosystem for what the times have become is important. So, for example, employment, that we were talking about, there is no employment. I won't say there's no employment, but things are changing very fast. One part you have to deal with AI, the other part you have to deal with facilitation of employment, opportunities don't exist as much anymore. It has fallen to quite a bit, and वो rat race बहुत अजीब सी हो गई है. People are more after numbers and not looking at the people who are putting in those numbers. So वो growth बहुत stilted सी हो गई है. And I think that the ecosystem that we need to develop is to facilitate employment, make it easier for people to reach where they need to reach, or the people they want their resumes to reach. Resumes are not about, it's about a document that's talking about you. But now we've made it, for example, all about keywords and formats and fonts. And I'm like, listen, that is the makeup. What is the content? What is the cake? वो तो icing हो गई ना. So some things are better, they were better off before. So those are little initiatives that I'm trying to bring in. I'll be more ready to talk about it much later. But the other part is to build the ecosystem where you look at non-linear professions. Now, non-linear professions को कोई देता नहीं है मतलब अहमियत. When you look at it in terms of people who are artists, talented people, हमारे में क्या है कि if someone is coming and performing, for example, they don't get paid. Why are you not paying them? बिल तो सबको भरने हैं, रोटी सबने खानी है, चलो रोटी मिल जाएगी. बट बिल जो एक्चुअल बिल देने होते हैं, फोन बिल देना है, रेंट देना, वो तो पैसे में ही जाएगा ना. तो वो इंसान कहाँ जाएगा? And there's a lot of exploitation of that particular arena where people don't get paid on time or they get short charged. या एक कमिटमेंट होती है इतना काम में इतना पैसा, and then you know they make you do 20 times more before they can give you the money. So a lot of these practices are there, and we're trying to build that ecosystem where talent gets identified, it gets noticed, people get more projects and opportunities to also earn money out of it. So that is the reason why we even did the Dhar event. That was to showcase artists, local artists. हमारे बहुत interesting थे, and it works. It can work. It's just that we just need to be a little mindful of each other, because eventually that is the company you're going to be keeping. And you can't live alone all your life. So the people you nurture around you are the people you're going to be with, and that's important. To be a human being first.
How is the work culture here in India and the work culture in Nigeria?
Work culture in India is driven differently in the city, different in towns. I think work culture is very different in Bombay, for example, Mumbai, just to be correct, than Delhi. Delhi में you give somebody an appointment, आपने time fix किया कि मिलेंगे 10 बजे मंडे को. That 10 बजे मंडे से पहले, if you have not reconfirmed the meeting, that meeting will not happen. आपने तो confirm ही नहीं किया. But when you're having a conversation, you've confirmed it. In Bombay, there's a slight difference here. Bombay, you meet someone, you're having a verbal conversation. 10 बजे मंडे को मिलेंगे, हाँ मिलेंगे, किधर इधर, okay. Whether you send an email, whether you send a reminder or not, 10 बजे that meeting will happen. Unless you call up and say emergency आ गया, can we move it? But until you call and say emergency is there and you can move the meeting, that meeting will take place. जुबान और वक्त के जो पक्के होते हैं ना, that is more in Bombay than in Delhi. So it's a culture, work culture difference, right? So work culture in the south, for example, is very different. Exploitation is everywhere, no doubt. But work culture depends also on the, I think, a lot of where people come from. what kind of education you're coming from, what kind of things you have been exposed to as a child or as an adult, as a young adult, उसमें बहुत फर्क पड़ता है. And whether it's a school, whether it's the education sector, whether it's, you know, commercial sectors, there's a lot of difference. But culture is lacking in India. It's very difficult to find someone who will not squeeze you dry and not understand you. The problem in India, the biggest challenge is when you're hiring someone, you're so caught up in that entire process of इसमें keyword ये, यार किसी ने keyword डाला ताकि their CV gets filtered, right? Their resume gets filtered and you get called for an interview. Major तो problem वहाँ है. Then you say you don't get people with experience, but you're not hiring people with experience because you're filtering them out. They are too expensive for you. Now in Japan, it's a very different culture. For example, the more senior you get, they keep you there as an advisor within the within the organization. So when the younger ones are watching ki this guy is now chilling a little bit, but he's still respected and he's being paid for this, do you think the loyalty factor will increase or not? When someone takes care of you, you'll put in your best. So there's a major culture change, shock in India, in terms of कि आप रात के 10 बजे भी काम कर रहे हो, आप बीमार होके काम कर रहे हो, वो आपको देख के भी अनदेखा कर देगा. And I've had a personal experience on that. It's been really rough. That's when I stopped working. I said मुझे अब नौकरी नहीं करनी है, बहुत हो गया, and I can't deal with that. And I think you just need to put a foot down somewhere. And also training पे ध्यान नहीं देते. For example, there's no culture of training. क्यों? क्योंकि आज मैं उसको ट्रेन करूंगा, वो कल कहीं और चले जाएगा, काम करेगा, तो मेरी तो ट्रेनिंग वेस्ट हो गई. बट you're forgetting that person's also getting trained somewhere and is coming to you. So वो चीज इक्वलाइज होती है. These are invisible equalizers जो दिखता नहीं है. It's working in the background, isn't it? आप जब मिक्सर लगाते हो म्यूजिक के लिए, you are adjusting. वो दिखता नहीं है किसी को, but the minute you adjust, that the sound quality will change. So it's literally like that. Culture नहीं है. Nigerian culture is very different. Nigeria, it's similar to India in terms of नौकरी कम है, whatever is there. They have a very challenging education system, out of which the government now is trying to get the industries to participate in vocational training for young graduates. So there the thing is, in graduates, when you graduate, you have to do 1 year's service. National Youth Services का एक उनका होता है period 1 year का, where they are either have to work in a company, or they have to go and teach, or they have to go and do agriculture. But that's a compulsory service that they have to do for a year. So in that year, for example, we are partnering in Nigeria with the NYSC. It's called the NYSC. They're called coppers. So coppers are young graduates who haven't finished that 1 year basic community service. And this community service, what we are enabling there is vocational training. Vocational training, how to start your own business. Because when you know employment is less, you have to make and create those things so that people can sustain themselves. So that's what we're getting into now, beginning end of this month, and then taking it forward there. But India में I don't know how it's going to be, because India में education sector बहुत bureaucratic है. Especially the government agencies, government colleges say. And I'm not running down government college. I am a product of the government college, right? I studied in a government college in Jammu, and then I'm out of it. So it doesn't matter where you study. It matters, your teachers matter, how they teach matters, but your own focus on how you want to learn, that matters a lot. Culture. They're happy-go-lucky people. They'll teach you that there is hope. They will teach you to smile despite everything else, because there is joy in everyday things. That is the culture you learn in Nigeria. But the culture of trust, loyalty is something that is still in a very lower stage, I would say. It's very easy because there's so much of poverty in both these nations that people get swayed very fast, right? Yeah, India में भी आपको 10 रुपए मिल गए दिन में, and you're happy sometimes because that's all you needed in that day. You forget कि इसकी implication बाद की क्या है. वहाँ भी similar है. But I kind of enjoy working in Nigeria as well. And कहते हैं ना, एक जन्मभूमि और एक कर्मभूमि है. So I've got both these places. It's been really, really good speaking with you, and बहुत दिनों से ऐसे सवाल किसी ने किए नहीं थे, so it's nice. Thank you so much for your time and for giving me that opportunity. बोलना बहुत मुश्किल होता है normally to speak up. So yeah, thank you and all the best for your future episodes.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome.